Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the next installment of the Red Hat FAA webinar series. Just a quick mic check. John or Melanie, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
All right, good. I didn't want to talk to myself this entire time. So, many of you know me, many of you may not. My name is Jonathan Beach, and I am your FAA dedicated solution architect. Um, so, today we have another great webinar for you. However, it's a little bit different than our past ones. But without giving too much away, we're going to shift away from the enterprise open source solution Red Hat provides and into something a little bit different that Red Hat does. But like I said, I don't want to go too deep into it. I have some specialists here to talk to about it. But before we get started, let's go over the ground rules. Again, many of you have been in some of these webinars, some of you have not. First, by default, everyone's microphone is muted. Everyone's video is turned off. So you guys can go ahead and get a drink. We won't know. That's fine. You guys can cough. We won't know. We ask everyone to put their questions in the Q&A section. So on your screen, you'll see a chat section. You guys can chat amongst yourselves. Tell us what a great job we're doing on this webinar. But there is a Q&A section on the screen. Please enter your questions. As we're going through this, I will try to answer them the best I can. However, we will take pauses throughout to answer them. And at the end of the presentation, we will make sure we answer every question. And if we can't, we'll definitely follow up with you at the end of the call today. During the presentation, I will drop some links in there as well as my email address. If you guys have any questions, you can always feel free to email me, as well as the presenters will drop their contact information into the chat window as well. That said, let's get started, right? So today we have two presenters. First, we have Melody Johnson. She's our Red Hat Federal Training Manager. Along with Melanie, we have John Walter. He's a Red Hat Training Solution Architect. And I'm done talking. With that, Melanie, it's over to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, John. And hi, everyone on the FAA team. I just want to make sure everyone can hear me.
Sounds good.
Awesome. As John said, I am the FAA Red Hat Training Manager. I work on the team with Jonathan Beach, Nick Salvatore, and all of the Red Hat FAA managers to help support the FAA. So as John said, today we're going to show you and talk to you about the Red Hat training resources that we have available for the FAA team to help train and support you on our Red Hat technologies. So this is going to be a presentation to discuss the training that we have available for you. So John, we can go to the next slide. All right. So today's agenda, we're going to discuss training and what training includes here at Red Hat. We're going to discuss also the modalities of training, of basically how you can train. We're also going to talk about the Red Hat Learning subscription, which I like to joke and call it our Redflix, similar to Netflix. But and basically, it's a catalog, a portal that provides you access to all of our Red Hat training virtually that you can take at your own time. And I'll go more into it in the presentation. We're also going to talk about the FAA Enterprise Subscription Program that you all have access to, and also talk into how you can get access to some of the training. And then John Walter is going to kick off after I go over the beginning agenda, and he's going to go over some of the actual training courses that we have.
And Melanie, just 1 second. I see in the chat a couple of people are having issues seeing the slides. I just want to make sure that some or all people are not having that same issue.
Awesome. Let's get a check on that.
John, are you able to see my slides?
I can. That's weird. Let me just see if I can make it a little larger.
Sure.
If that helps.
And for anyone that hasn't used BlueJeans before, there is a slider, I think in the bottom left, that allows you to change the layout. I believe the layout, if you choose active presence, will show the slides and the speakers at the same time and not just speakers. But it looks like a lot of people are having issues seeing the slides, so I will stop sharing and reshare. Better? hopefully.
Thank you guys all for chatting us to let us know that the slides are not showing. We are going to reshare, and I hope you guys can now see this. So if anyone can drop a chat to let us know if they can see the slides. And I'm waiting, I'm just checking the chat to see if everyone can now see it. Awesome. Thank you. Awesome. Thank you all for chatting us. That would have been not too good, me speaking into slides that they can't see. So thank you all for your patience. So glad we got over that technical difficulty there. All right. So training at Red Hat. Here we go. All right. So one of the big things that we've noticed with a lot of our government agencies is they have stated to us that sometimes our engineers are not always trained and have the skills on implementing new technologies such as Ansible, OpenShift, even our RHEL 8 or RHEL 7, and sometimes are lacking those skills. So what we've noticed that, within the survey that we did, we had 65% of respondents report that they had lack of people with the technical skills, needed to help the organization keep up the pace with the innovation and ongoing changes with technology and the ongoing changes to, produce, products and produce, innovation at a faster pace. So we've noticed that, and that's why we wanted to help today to tell you about our Red Hat training and how that can help to bridge some of those skills gaps. So John, we'll go to the next one. All right. So within Red Hat training, we make sure that we assess your skills first. So we do have a free skills assessment, and I can work individually with each FAA engineer if they would like to see where they are technically within our Red Hat Enterprise Linux, within Ansible knowledge, within OpenShift knowledge, any of our Red Hat technologies. I can provide a free Red Hat skills assessment link that you would take at your own time, and then it would provide you with results to show you where you have really strong set skills within a specific technology. And it'll also show maybe on some areas that your skills are maybe not as high, and it will provide you a recommended training path. So that's a great thing, is that we make sure to assess your skills before putting you into a training course. So we make sure to assess that to provide you an actual training journey that is going to address the specific skills that you are needing to help to grow within that technology. All right. So we have a three pretty much module kind of style of how we train. And the first part is assessment. So an assessment is the skills assessment that I just described to really assess where you are within your training journey. The next thing is, once we find out exactly the skills that are needed for training and some of the gaps, then we provide you with the training courses that help you to bridge those gaps. And then the way that we validate those trainings to make sure that it has helped you to grow within your technical skills is we do have our Red Hat certifications. If anyone on the team is interested after their training getting certified in our Red Hat technologies, this is the way that it will help you to get those certifications. So as you can see, our Red Hat training is all job role based. So you won't just be actually reading course material. You will also have labs with each of your course material where you can actually do real life job role activities. So if you're training on Ansible, you would get documentation on what Ansible is, how to create playbooks, but then you'll actually, after training, have a lab where you can actually create, playbooks, and you can actually have a test environment within our portal or within our on-site training to actually apply this. All of our instructors have over 20 years experience. That's the great thing, is that they are really certified in these technologies and are really here to help answer your questions. So that's a really good thing. And all of our instructors that teach our courses are certified in that technology course that they teach. So with all of our training, you are going to get course material as well as labs that will be included with that course material. All right. So the ways that we train. So we kind of have 4 ways that we can train each engineer on reaching their skills and training goals. One of the ways we train is called our private on-site training. The great thing about our private on-site training, we can either come into your office with a Red Hat instructor. We usually start our group classes at a minimum of 6 students, and usually the classes max out about 15 students. We have come to the tech center in Jersey, and we'll actually have an instructor there on site and be teaching that course for that 4 to 5 days. You will be one-on-one in a class live with an instructor, learning as well as conducting your labs. The great thing is that with our private training, we also offer it virtually. So you could do a 5-day virtual training live with an instructor, live labs, live questions, and so we also offer that virtually. So that is a great way if there's a specific technology that you are looking to train more, in a big group setting, and as well as want to maybe add additional content. We're also able to kind of customize our on-site training. So that's a great resource and a great way to train if it's for a group and it's for a specific technology. That's a great way to train. The second training is our public classroom training, which is a one student that's just looking to train on one specific technology. They can take a public classroom training, and that's also done live or virtual. So that's where you see that virtual training. That's going to be the same. And then we have our online training, which is also video classroom training. And then we have next one of our very popular training modalities, which is our Red Hat Learning subscription. So that should be here on the next slide. Great. So the Red Hat Learning subscription goes back to my beginning in the agenda where I joke and call it our Redflix, similar to Netflix, but it provides you a video course material. So it would be pre-recorded instructor teaching a course. And then with that, you would have 24 access to watch those videos. It's all self-paced. So the great thing about that training, it's on your own time, and you can rewind, you can fast forward, you can go through chapters the way that you want to, and it's pretty much your own individual goal, and you won't have to worry about being in a group setting if you have some students that more advanced, some people that are more beginner, and they are not able to. Sometimes we notice that in a classroom, an advanced student may not want to learn the beginner content. So with the learning subscription, this allows you to really go at your own pace. The great thing too with the Red Hat Learning subscription, you do get customer support with our Red Hat instructors. So there is a chat option where if you're working in a lab and let's say you get stuck at a certain point within your lab, you can actually send a chat to a Red Hat instructor who can help you answer that question. We also have ways that you can actually set up an appointment, and you can set up like anytime Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 5, you can actually set up a one-on-one appointment with the Red Hat instructor. So this is a great way for self-paced training, especially with our new work from home environment where, you kind of have a, big workload on projects. This will give you time and flexibility maybe during those breaks to go into your learning subscription and really start your training on any of our Red Hat technologies. All right. So within the Red Hat Learning subscription, we are going to focus on 2 learning subscription modalities that we have. So we have a basic subscription, which will provide you all of the video classroom. It provides you all of the labs that we discussed. It also provides you instructor video classroom, as we went over. The only thing that it does not have is it doesn't have one-on-one instructor time, and it doesn't have what's called our expert extras. Expert extras is an additional feature within the learning subscription where you can actually watch videos of different industry engineers who are very high, high within our community, who are pretty much talking and having a video classroom conversation about our Red Hat technologies. So within the standard subscription, which is the subscription that is included within the FAA ESP agreement that we have, that includes all of the features. So that has your instructor support, that has your learning paths, that also includes also 5 exam vouchers. So anyone that's looking to get certified, the learning subscription includes 5 exam vouchers and 2 retakes. The only thing is the 5 exam vouchers do have to be used for one unique exam. So if it's going to be your RHCSA within our Enterprise System Administration, your 5 exam, you could use one of those 5 exam vouchers to take it. And let's say you don't pass the first time. So that means you have 4 vouchers left. You wouldn't be able to use that 4th voucher for that retake, but you would be able to use your retake exams. So you do get 2 retakes that you can use for one specific exam as well. So the great thing is that we have that flexibility for you and your team. All right. Now, within the FAA ESP DLT CDWG portal, I'm sure most of you, if not all of you, are registered within our Red Hat DLT portal for FAA. If you are not, you can please email us. Our email contacts will be at the end of this session, and we can help you to get access. But basically, for the Red Hat Learning subscriptions, that is currently included within your FAA agreement. There's no additional fee for this. It is included. So what we do is we would like for you to submit a request within your Red Hat DLT portal for a learning subscription. Once you submit the request within the portal, it'll come directly to me that you are requesting a learning subscription. My team will work on providing you access, and then you'll get an email from me and my team once you have access. So the learning subscriptions are available to the FAA, and they are at a first come, first serve. We have a certain limited amount of subscriptions. We have not yet went over that. So if you are interested in a learning subscription to start your training after the webinar today, feel free to email me and I can help you get started on that, because as I said, there is no additional fee. It's included in your enterprise agreement. All right, we are going to go to John Walter now.
All right, thanks, Mel.
Hey, Melanie. Hey, John, real quick.
Yeah.
Just to clarify what Melanie said about the learning subscriptions for the ESP, they are available for federal employees as well as SIs. Is that correct, Melanie?
That is correct. And what we're doing is we provide the subscriptions until we kind of run out, and we have not ran out of them yet. So we are so far doing good with that. So anyone that's interested, please, feel free to reach out and go into the portal to request that. Yes.
Perfect. Yeah, and just to clarify, internally, Red Hat, we call SIs system integrators, also contractors, just to clarify that term I used. So go ahead, John. It's all yours.
Thank you, John. So again, I'm John Walter. I'm a solutions architect here at Red Hat. I cover the training certification team on the public sector and on the commercial side. So I work with Melanie pretty closely to make recommendations on various learning paths. We're going to talk about essentially all of the courses that we have associated with each of the products under our portfolio, and talk a little bit about the contents of some of the courses, some of the highlight a few courses throughout. If you have questions about any of the content of the courses, the exams, anything like that, feel free to drop those in the Q&A. I'll try to keep my eye on that as I'm going through so I can answer those in the moment. Otherwise, as John said before, we will have Q&A towards the end. But we'll start first and foremost with our more foundational Red Hat Enterprise Linux training paths. And as of today, we do still have training available on both RHEL 7 and RHEL 8. What you're seeing here is what we call our Red Hat Certified Engineer learning path. On the way towards becoming a Red Hat Certified Engineer, you actually will become first a Red Hat Certified System Administrator. And so our first 2 RHEL-centered courses are very foundational courses, much more really about creating foundational skills as a Linux system administrator. They're really geared towards folks who are coming with little to no Linux experience that need to understand, obviously, how do I navigate a command line? How do I create users and groups? How do I create and manage storage and the networking and file systems and service management and package management? All of these kind of clear cut day one operations kind of focused administration tasks. From there is an associated certification. Melanie talked a little bit about certification earlier on, and I wanted to kind of spend a little bit more time talking about what you can expect with the Red Hat certification exam. All of our certifications are going to be completely hands-on certifications, and really the content of the courses and the labs that we give you access to are completely centered around exercises that are meant to simulate what you'll closely be doing in the real world. The same thing can be said for these certification exams. And so when you take a Red Hat certification, whether it's in person, proctored by an instructor, whether you go to one of our testing facilities, or if you take it remotely from your own hardware, they are proctored exams. And essentially, once you log into the exam environment, it's a RHEL system. There's a Firefox link on the desktop that says Start Exam. You open that up, you're going to have maybe 10 or 15 different things that you're going to need to, tasks that you'll need to accomplish. On the system administration certification exam, some of the things will be creating users and groups and making sure that specific directories or files are owned by the correct users and have the correct permissions. You'll be responsible for deploying storage and networking, and probably downloading some packages, maybe subscribing to repositories. All of the information for what we expect, all the objectives that we would cover on the exam are listed both inside of the learning subscription when you go to view that exam before you redeem the voucher, or just on our website. So if you're curious in what the Red Hat Certified System Administrator certification would entail, you can just type in EX200 into Google. It should be the first one there at the top. You can do it on our website as well, and see a breakdown of what the objectives of what you're looking to accomplish. And so anyone that's new to RHEL or just looking to get a RHEL certification, usually the Red Hat Certified System Administrator is where we would start them. From there, we have kind of a split when it comes to the RHEL 7 and RHEL 8, a difference in our third level system administration course. On the RHEL 7 side, we really focused on advanced service and networking administration. We get into how to configure and manage a lot of specific services. So databases, web servers, I said databases already, DNS, NTP or CronyD, depending on what version of RHEL you're using. So, all these different kind of services that an administrator may be responsible for needing to not just set up, but to manage and troubleshoot going forward. That's what our RHEL 7 System Administrator course will cover. On the RHEL 8 side, we've actually really refactored the course in the exam to be much more around automation. As we've started to roll out products like Ansible, and as automation has become an expectation in the field of what a system administrator is going to be, what skill set they're going to be coming in with, we have essentially changed our system administration 3 course from being about manually configuring services and managing them to automating that service management with Ansible. And so depending on, which version of RHEL that you're interested in, or if you're interested in certification, just be aware that we do have 2 versions of our System Administration 3 course that are pretty radically different as far as the subject matter is concerned. And so my recommendation, and obviously Melanie and I are here as advisors for this, but my recommendation is to usually take the course based on the version that's closest to what you're going to be supporting in the field. You always have access to both as part of the learning subscription. And one quick disclaimer here at the bottom here, Want to Switch Lanes, Be Our Guest. If you've already started your learning on RHEL 7 and you want to pivot to RHEL 8, be certified in RHEL 8, on the System Administration 1 and 2 levels, that is no problem. The foundational expected skill set of a system administrator not really drastically changed between RHEL 7 and RHEL 8. And so those first 2 level courses that we're teaching that are so foundational, they have not radically changed, and so you can definitely switch back and forth. And I see there is a question in the chat here that hopefully I can answer really quickly. For REL 7, does this mean that EX200 requires completion of RH254, or is RH254 optional? So after completing RH124 and 134, so System Administration 1 and 2, those two courses are what set you up for the EX200, the Red Hat Certified System Administrator. We actually have retired our Red Hat Certified Engineer on REL 7 exam. That would be the EX300. It would come after the RH254. I know that that's a bit confusing, a lot of SKUs out there, but Joel, to answer your question, I'll make sure to write this up afterwards. But EX200 would take place after the 124 and 134. There is not an exam that would take place after the 254.
Hey, John, just real quick, since you stopped to answer questions. One question I'm seeing a few times, and you might get there, and I'm sorry if you do, but how are the exams working in COVID times?
Great question. So I mean, the majority of the time I've been at Red Hat, we did not have a remote option. It was either, you take a class in person and the instructor would proctor it there in person, or you would go to one of our, partner facilities, or maybe have a testing site, on site. In August, we actually rolled out the ability to do exams remotely. So there are some hardware considerations. So nothing needs to be installed on your system. You actually boot from I have it right here, just from a USB stick. This has a live ISO that's mounted on it. I just stick it into my laptop, reboot, and hold down the option key. I'm running a Mac, and boot into this disk. From there, there's a network connectivity test that you need to take, all built into the live ISO that you have. The only things that you need, other than a USB stick, you can't use an external monitor, or I'm sorry, you can't use two monitors. So if you have a desktop that you'd be working from, your one monitor is just fine. You do need two webcams. So I use my laptop, got a pretty beefy MacBook, so I use the webcam up here, and then I have an external webcam that I have to have plugged in as well. And that second webcam is really so I can move it around my room. I'm here in an apartment. My desk is actually my dining room table, so I have to just show my webcam around a couple times throughout the 3 or 4 hour exam, however long it takes. And but the experience is identical to what you would experience inside of one of our testing facilities. It's the exact same exam. It's proctored exactly the same way. This is a very similar setup to if you went to one of our testing facilities. We have a bunch of Lenovo workstation laptops in there with an external camera, and you'd be doing the same thing. So we're trying to make it as easy as possible. We have some pretty detailed instructions. Right now we have about 2/3 of our available exams are available remotely, including pretty much every popular exam that we'll talk about throughout the session today. But we're definitely doing remote certifications. It's been, we really haven't had any kind of bumps in the road as far as performance or anything like that. And obviously, if you encounter any issues, there is a proctor there that can help you, and we can always, postpone or anything like that if we need to. But hopefully that answers your question. So from kind of our foundational Red Hat Enterprise Linux training, we obviously have a lot of advanced courses as well. I'm guessing that, across FAA, there's going to be a lot of different skill levels when it comes to, Linux experience. Some folks probably have been working on Linux or Red Hat Enterprise Linux for, longer than I've been at Red Hat, right? So we have a lot of training that's correlated with our layered products, right? Products that sit on top of RHEL. So that's like Red Hat Satellite, Red Hat Virtualization, our high availability clustering offering. And so you'll see those courses there on the left. All of these courses are available inside of the subscription. Really everything that we're talking about here on the advanced platform courses, expect that you're coming in with the foundational skill set, right? It's not a requirement that you've taken one of the courses, but it is a requirement that you have. The expectation is there that you have that level of knowledge and proficiency with Linux. So, for instance, within the Satellite 6 administration course, the first day of the 4-day course is all about installation and preparing the environment for the installation. And so, knowledge of NFS and networking and obviously subscription management are all, key things that you need to know going into that course that we won't really cover in that course, right? It's expected. So everything there on the layered product side, and then sort of advanced rel training here on the right. So things like diagnostics and troubleshooting. This is actually a course that we designed in tandem with our support delivery organization and took essentially the 5 or 10 most common high impact severity cases that we were seeing. So things like systems not booting, networking not coming up, being locked out of a system, storage issues causing boot issues, to how to diagnose and troubleshoot those kind of things, even to get it back to, emergency mode where you can download an SOS report that you can then send over to the support organization. So, really courses to assist you in getting your systems, back to that 99.99% uptime. And then some security focused and performance tuning courses as well. On the security side, integrating things like our identity management platform, Active Directory integration. On the security side, focusing on some advanced SE Linux concepts, OpenSCAP, and how you can leverage things like Red Hat Insights to kind of proactively identify any kind of security or configuration issues within your environment. And then obviously our performance tuning course, is really ideal depending on the kind of workloads that you're running in production. We'll pivot next to Ansible. I know I talked about this a little bit early on, that really our Linux system administration curriculum kind of all dovetails into Ansible content, right? We want to teach you first how to manually do a lot of these tasks from an administration perspective, and then we want to teach you how to use a tool like Ansible to automate those same tasks. And so you'll see here at the very top a technical overview. I like having this on here purely for the course code DO007. I think it just makes me laugh every time. This is a technical overview. It's about an hour and a half video that's delivered by one of our instructors, totally complimentary. This is on our website. If you just go on redhat.com and search DO007, you'll find this. It's a good primer. Really, we have a few technical overviews that are all really good primers before jumping into a course. Get you acclimated with some of the concepts, with some of the terminology before jumping into the course where you're going to be hands-on keyboard. So that technical overview kind of splits into 3 focus areas. Obviously, Linux administration, we've talked about, how to automate specific Linux tasks. We have the same style course for network administration, so how to automate across your networking environment. So that's Cisco iOS and BIOS, some Arista and Juniper devices in there as well. But how do I automate the provisioning, configuration, and ongoing management of my routers and switches and load balancers in our environment from a networking perspective. And then we have the same kind of course for Windows administrators. Obviously, we know that most of our customers, and the government included, are not just tied to one OS. And so there's a need for a platform like Ansible that can automate across all of these different endpoints. We want to make sure that our customers who are Windows administrators or at least responsible for that footprint have the skills to automate across that environment as well. Now, obviously, we are the Linux company, so we do have a second level Linux automation course as well. This is a relatively new course and essentially dives into more specific services management and automation. And so I talked about the old Red Hat System Administration 3 course that gets into NFS and Samba and DNS and NTP and all these kind of services and how to deploy them, manage them, and troubleshoot them. Well, that's what our RH358 course is. So if you are already kind of well down at intermediate, advanced level with Linux, but you want to get started with something like Ansible, our RH294 and RH358 classes would be really good pairing for that. The 294 will teach you the basics of building out playbooks and what Ansible is, kind of foundational knowledge that you need going into the RH358 course, where you'll get much deeper into some specific Linux use cases with Ansible. And then finally, all of that kind of comes back to our advanced automation Ansible course, which is really around building on best practices. So how do we how do we implement versioning control? How do we implement a CI/CD pipeline to manage these different Ansible projects? And how do we leverage a tool like Ansible Tower to operationalize our automation throughout our environment? So, that course will get into actually deploying Ansible Tower, all the different features that Ansible Tower provides, and then build on some of the skills that you've established in that middle line, whether you're a network, Linux, or Windows administrator. The other really popular technology that we have right now is OpenShift. Everyone's either talking about Ansible or OpenShift right now. And so I wanted to spend some time highlighting our OpenShift curriculum. Again, there is a technical overview available if you're interested in just kind of a taste of what to expect. If you're curious about what the difference between a container and a pod is, or you want to understand really what the benefit towards containerized applications, or if you just want some information about what Kubernetes is, that technical overview is a great place to start. Our foundational OpenShift course is our DO 180. It's OpenShift 1 Containers and Kubernetes, and really lays the foundation, giving you experience working with containers, building and deploying your own containerized applications on the OS, and then kind of growing out in scale, talking a little bit about what Kubernetes is, what is container orchestration. If you don't know that, hopefully that's a tease. Go take the class. And then all of that, how OpenShift and Kubernetes kind of relate to each other, right? If Kubernetes is the engine, then OpenShift is the car. And so what features does OpenShift really bring to the table that Kubernetes doesn't, right? From there, that's the foundation level, and that's really geared towards anyone that's going to be working with OpenShift, whether they're a developer, an operations person, administrators, even architects. From there, it really does split back out towards the specialties. And so for administrators who are going to be responsible for actually deploying the platform and managing it, day one and day two operations, our administration track would be the one for them. OpenShift Administration 2 is pretty much all of the basics that you would need to know to deploy and operate a production Kubernetes cluster. We do have a certification tied to that course as well. That's the EX280 OpenShift Administration certification. We also have an installation lab. So this is something that we've just released in the last, I want to say 3 or 4 weeks, that was actually built based on feedback from our public sector customers. Public sector, unlike a lot of other verticals, is often having to deploy and then redeploy OpenShift clusters based on all kinds of different criteria, whether it's certification or you've just certified a new version, we need to deploy a new cluster, and a lot of the times it's either on GovCloud or it's on-prem. And at least in my experience, most government entities are not deploying using the automated installation. They want the iterative manual install, and that adds a lot of complexity. And so our customers were having some difficulties, especially in the public sector, because they were continuously having to deploy for their own reasons. And so we created an installation lab that essentially is a lab-based simulation of deploying the actual OpenShift cluster. And so that is something that is a part of the learning subscription as well. I highly recommend anyone that's going to be responsible for even the day two operations of an OpenShift cluster, take that installation lab. Each chapter is essentially a different way or a different place, destination that we're putting that cluster. And so you don't have to take the entire course. Take the part of the course that really applies to the way that you'll be installing OpenShift. And then again, that would lead into our day two operations course. The OpenShift Administration 3 gets much more into implementing GitOps workflows. How do I scale our cluster? How do I implement health checks and things like that? All the things that you'll need once you've actually deployed the OpenShift cluster. On the flip side, the development track, it's pretty straightforward. Our first level development course is really about taking existing applications, containerizing them, implementing a CI/CD pipeline, and managing that. But it's really what we kind of call the brownfield developer focus course. We're not going to be building cloud native applications yet. We're really going to be identifying applications as proof of concept and promoting them through the life cycle so that they end up on OpenShift. That's really the primer before we jump into cloud native development or microservices development. And we have a few different courses around microservice development, depending on the frameworks of choice, depending on the language, obviously. And so we have one around Quarkus, which is really geared towards Java developers. We have one towards Service Mesh if you're looking for implementing a service mesh across all of these different microservices in your environment. And then not listed here, but we do have a couple other around our OpenShift runtime. So if you're a Spring Boot developer, Wildfly Swarm, et cetera, we have training on that as well. On the middleware side, it's a little bit all over the place. There's not really a set path. Really, it's all going to be geared towards role and then product. So on the left side, if you are responsible for administering your JBoss EAP environment, we have a level 1 and level 2 course that really is similar to our Linux administration courses, really kind of designed to be taught together. We also have, for your non-developers but business users, some training around our decision manager and performance automation manager. That's a tongue twister. Performance automation manager platform as well. So DM and PAN you'll see there. For our 3-scale API management tool, we do have a course around actually deploying and configuring 3-scale, and then same thing for AMQ administration. If you're going to be responsible for managing an AMQ broker, that course would be for you. On the development side, pretty straightforward. Depending on what product you're going to be responsible for, whether it be Data Grid or Datavert or just building microservices or just developing within Java within EAP, plenty of courses to align to those different roles and responsibilities as well, and less stringent on the prerequisites, other than obviously we expect you're a developer coming into that course. And then I did also want to highlight some of the new courses that we've just released and courses in development. One thing, and I know Melanie mentioned it, but one thing I also wanted to highlight was our early access channel. So as part of the Red Hat Learning subscription, you actually get access to all courses that are in development. We have a very DevOps workflow, and so as we essentially break each of these courses into pieces, multiple sprints, and as those sprints are completed, the content goes through QA, goes through QA or QE, and then we promote it into this early access channel inside the Learning subscription. And this allows you to have access to the courses before they become generally available. And so most of the courses, well, actually all of the courses that you see here are either already released generally or are, for the most part, completely available inside of our early access channel. Maybe 70, 80, 90% of a course, or maybe even 100% of the course, but we just haven't hit the GA date or haven't had the pilot yet, something like that. So I touched on the OpenShift installation lab, just giving you experience deploying across a few different environments, cloud, virtual, deploying on VMware, and obviously bare metal physical infrastructure. We are making a significant update to our decision manager course as well, essentially a full crash course in authoring and developing business rules. So if your team is responsible for any kind of decision tables, rules, anything like that, this course would be for you. That will be available, I think, end of next week or beginning of the week after. But again, for the completely available inside of our Learning subscription as of today. I didn't touch on OpenStack at all, but for those, if you will be working with OpenStack, we have several levels of OpenStack training across, really 3 levels of OpenStack administration training, and then some storage training as well for Ceph that would be attached to your OpenStack deployment. So if you're responsible for building that private cloud, plenty of training to get you started at a most basic level, all the way through, deploying network functions, virtualization, and software-defined networking. But we are currently in the process of leveling up our second level OpenStack course to OpenStack 16.1, which is the most recent release. Our level 1 course already is at that, and we'll be focusing our efforts on the level 3 course just after this becomes generally available at the end of the month. And then These next two courses are really the two that we're most excited about, or I should say the ones that I'm most excited about. Um, we have been working tirelessly over the last 2 years to build out more DevOps process and culture curriculum for our customers, and especially with uh, the public sector. There's been a huge investment in DevOps and specifically in DevSecOps, and so the first thing that we rolled out, which you don't see here, is a course called DO 500. It's a culture and process course. It's an in-person course only, but it really kind of simulates what the processes and what the people, uh, uh, you know, what kind of transition we need to make to become DevSecOps within an environment. But what we have listed here are really two kind of technical counterparts across the process side. So that's what you're seeing on the DO 400. So this is a developer focused course where we'll cover how to actually build and manage a CI/CD pipeline with Jenkins, how to implement a GitOps workflow, what test-driven development is. And so this is a developer-focused course that teaches skills for a burgeoning DevOps environment. The DO 250 is really about practicing some of these different open practices that we talk about. And so if you're not familiar, one of the things that we talk about a lot throughout our DevOps curriculum is the open practice library. Just like everything else with Red Hat, we are, big all in on the open source. And so the open practice library is actually a repository for a bunch of different, interactive DevOps processes. And so what this course is a way of kind of having your hand held or having training wheels on when you're starting to dip your toe into DevOps adoption, and you want to get through some of the different practices in a kind of a controlled environment. That's what the DO 250 is really about. So those two courses will be available in the learning subscription. I think they come out just days after each other. Yeah, March 31st and April 1st. So quite soon. And so those will be available to you as well, especially if your team is in the early stages of DevOps adoption. And then finally, I mentioned this before, but we are also rolling out a new version of our Ceph course. So if you're responsible for Ceph storage and really specifically Ceph storage for OpenStack, that would be the course for you. This is something that we built out basically to spec based on a lot of public sector and commercial feedback. And so this is something that we took a lot of that feedback and built a course around it. And so this will be generally available about this time next month as well. So with that, Melanie, I guess I'll kick it back to you. I wanted to make sure that we save plenty of time for questions, but Melanie, if you wanted to tackle this piece.
Sure. Thank you so much, John. So as you can see, these are the FAA Red Hat points of contacts. These are just some of them. As you know, the Red Hat FAA team is pretty large and we're all here to support. But I just wanted to give you some names that are, quick to get to help you on your training requirements and even your software requirements. So we'll make sure after the call today to just email the slide deck to everyone so that they can have those points of contacts. And another thing I just wanted to touch on as well is that the learning subscription, as everyone knows, is included with your FAA ESP program. Now, there are certain FAA programs that are not on the FAA ESP, which John did send a note to that in the chat. If you want to make sure that your FAA program is included in our FAA ESP program, just please send John an email and he'll make sure to let you know, as well as you can send me an email and we'll make sure to let you know if you have access to the learning subscription. Also, if you are a manager or you are a team member that's also looking to do group training, private instructor-led live group training, you can still have the Red Hat Learning subscription for yourself as self-paced training. But if you want to include a class session where you specifically dive in to one specific technology, because let's say your team really needs this baseline and you would prefer to do it in a live classroom and still have the learning subscriptions available to them, you can still do a live classroom class. You would just let me know. It is a separate additional fee, but I can always work with you and your team to provide you a proposal on what that would look like. And we can still do private instructor training in addition to your learning subscriptions. But the learning subscriptions are available now. So if you can send me and John an email, we can work, this week and start getting you and your team on those learning subscriptions. And what we can also do is for anyone that is interested in starting training, we can actually do a one-on-one session just to show you the learning subscription and the portal. And we'll make sure to show you how you access your courses and make sure to get you started on your training. And I just want to say thank you everyone who attended and thank you everyone who asked questions. And I'm truly looking forward to working with you all. Some of the names in the chat are familiar. I think I've worked with you all, some of you all before on training. So looking forward to working with you all again. And John, on that note, I will pass this along to you.
All right, perfect. Thank you, Melanie. So real quick before I end things, so as the commercial, the hair product commercial, I was a client before coming to Red Hat. I did receive my RHCSA prior to joining Red Hat. The training itself, leave the exam out. I mean, the training itself is very good. I highly recommend it for anybody in a technical position within the FAA. And the exams only help that. It helps you, climb up the ladder within the technical field. So enough about me. I stand between you and the 70-degree weather here outside of Philadelphia and lunchtime, so I'll wrap this up quickly. We do record this session. We do post it to YouTube. We do post the YouTube link in the DLT portal. If you don't have access to the DLT portal, again, we can get you access. If you just want to see the video again, you want to share it out to your friends or your managers, reach out to me. I can send you the link. We also will post the slides. Melanie said we're going to email them out. We can email them out at your request, but we don't just blast everybody a PowerPoint at the end of this. So they are also posted on that DLT portal, just so everybody knows. And you can even go back and look at some of the other webinars that we have hosted in the past. It's a great resource to go back and rewatch something or get information that we discussed in the past. So thanks again, Melanie, John. That was great. I really enjoyed it. And again, I learned some stuff too. As with most webinars, thank you to Jeff Thompson. He's not with us today. He's out in Val skiing. I'd rather have the warm weather than skiing at this point. Also, our partners, CDW and DLT, they do a lot of work behind the scenes to set this up. We do greatly appreciate everyone's effort to make these happen every other week. I will plug the next webinar in our series, which is March 25th. We're going to dive a little bit deeper into Ansible this time and talk about automating your network with Ansible Tower. I think this is a great product, a great webinar that'll dive deeper into. The last plug will be Red Hat Summit. Red Hat Summit is, again, a virtual and free this year, April 27th, 28th. If you're not available those days, that's fine. Register. You'll get access to everything we talk about during those days. It's a great resource. Again, it's free. So with that, myself and the rest of the Red Hat account team, we thank you for taking the time, the 55 minutes to come out and listen to us today. And I'll see you in 2 weeks. Thank you, everyone.